Alright, hi everyone, welcome back to Nick in China. Today I'm going to talk about lockdown. Basically all over the world now, more and more countries are putting in quite serious lockdown measures. The UK very recently did this as well. Finally, it's a little bit late, but nevertheless at least it's come. It means that things can actually start getting better now, hopefully. So I'm going to talk about a few things today. Firstly, I'm going to talk a little bit about how attitudes really need to change in this kind of situation, and I'm going to talk about my experience in lockdown here in China and the things I learned. It is quite a steep learning curve being suddenly stuck in your apartment all the time. I'm also going to talk about going out if you do need to go out, how we did it here and kind of the things that we were doing. And I'm going to finish the video with a little bit of a positive note, I hope. So yeah, let's get going. So I just want to talk a little bit about change in attitude, and it's something that I think happened here very quickly, in that people really quickly knew it was a big problem and just changed the way they lived, like immediately. Like we were told, we had no warning here really, to go into lockdown. We were just told, okay, everything's closed, stay at home, that's it, and everyone just did it. It's a cultural thing. It's the same kind of thing happened in South Korea as well. Right. Obviously in the West it's a little bit different. You know, our attitudes are different, I suppose. We have our you only live once, keep calm and carry on kind of attitude, which has its positives, but not in a situation like this. Actually, in a situation like this, it's like the dumbest way you could ever think at all. So it needs to change, right? People have got to change that a little bit and learn to adapt. Keep calm and change your friggin' habits, basically. As soon as people do that, and lockdown will push people to do that, but some people will still be idiots about it, unfortunately. But as soon as people really start doing that, actually, that's when you're going to start seeing some big changes. So that's what we need to do. Right, so lockdown. I'm not going to kind of beat around the bush. It sucks. It's rubbish. You know, you've got to stay in your house all the time. That's not great. No one wants to do that. Well, most people don't want to do it anyway. But it's this necessary thing, and it is absolutely necessary to get through this whole horrible situation that we're in. Now, for me personally, and I think this goes for most of the people I know as well, we all kind of had the same experience here in China, and that was the first 2 weeks of lockdown were absolutely the worst. They were the worst. They were the most difficult, the most mentally draining, and then after that, it did get a little bit easier. It got easier. I don't know why exactly. I think it was maybe just kind of getting used to things, or maybe changing the way you think about things a little bit. You know, for the first 2 weeks, if I think about myself, I spent a lot of time looking at, you know, websites, reading all the news, looking at graphs of ever increasing deaths and cases, and that can really play on your mind. I would advise not doing that. You know, I mean, obviously keep yourself well informed of what's going on, but don't spend all day just trawling the internet, reading everything and looking at everything. I think it really plays on the mind a lot in a really bad way, obviously. So that's my first piece of advice: is, you know, really limit how much time you actually spend reading about all this horrible stuff which is going on. Because, for example, in the UK, where they've just gone to lockdown, it's well worth remembering that for the next couple of weeks, at least, numbers of cases and deaths are going to increase a lot. Unfortunately, it's sad, but it is true. But then eventually, after so many weeks, because the incubation period is long for this virus, obviously that's the problem here. After a couple of weeks, hopefully you'll start to see a dip, and it will start going back the other way. That's the payoff. Obviously, that's the good thing that comes out of locking things down. Eventually, you know, you do see that swing the other way. So a lot of people are focused on, you know, buying food and toilet roll and all that kind of stuff. That wasn't really an issue here at all, and it shouldn't be an issue in the UK or anywhere really. I mean, they're not going to stop putting things in supermarkets. But a lot of people are not thinking about the mental side of things, and that is just obviously if you're at home all the time, just keeping yourself active. If you're working, well, that's good. I mean, it gives you something to do every day. I didn't work for the first 4 weeks of the lockdown, so I was really bored, really bored, and not just bored. It's more than that. It's not being able to go out. It really plays me in mind. So you can do other things. Think about home exercise routines. There's a million things on YouTube. That are really good things that you can do in your house every single day. Think about learning new skills, learning new things online. There's on Coursera, which is a great website. You can learn all sorts of things for free. I've got a friend who's done a lot of courses on that over this whole period in China. Done courses which would normally take months to get through, and obviously he's been doing them in a couple of weeks because he has that much free time, like we all do. So look at it as a kind of an opportunity, a chance for you to do some things that you would normally say you didn't have time to do and put off forever. I think it's an unusual opportunity to do that. It's not the perfect situation, of course, but try and look at the positives in all of this. Now, the UK government is saying people can go out every day, once a day, for some exercise. That's still nowhere near as strict as the lockdown controls that we had here. And to be honest, the situation in the UK now is way worse than it ever was where I live in China. Actually, anywhere in China outside of Hubei. Just remember, because they say you can go out once a day to exercise, it doesn't mean everybody has to go out every single day and exercise. Do stuff in home. At the height of the lockdown here, when we could go out once every other day. One person from each apartment could go out once every other day. I would go 3 or 4 days without even stepping outside my apartment. And if I did, I'd be just running down to the shop to buy a few things. That was basically it. And everything else, I was living in my apartment. I did go to the park one time with a couple of friends, obviously masked up and everything. And that was one of the few times I actually got some kind of a nice walk in, really. And as you can see from the footage, it was so quiet. If everyone's going out still every day to exercise, I mean, there's a high chance the streets are still going to be busy, which they should not be. Be very aware of your surroundings. It's a little bit, it sounds like it's not a normal human thing to do, but just stay away from everybody. Is the best advice you could have in this whole situation. Now, when it does come to going out, you do need to go out at some point. Of course you do. People have to go out and go to the supermarket or whatever and buy some stuff. The supermarket is obviously the riskiest place you could be because it's probably the only place left which will actually have quite a lot of people in it. So just if you do go out, be really aware. When I went out, I was wearing a mask, as everyone was here, which is a little bit different to other countries. But you just be careful about what your things you're touching. Stay away from people as much as you can. That's normal, and everyone will do the same, so that's okay. Trolley handles, clean them. After you come back, things like your phone and your door handle, all these things that you touch all the time, just clean them all thoroughly. If you get into this routine, and it's horrible at first because when you're doing it, you're thinking, oh my God, I'm trying to clean off some invisible killer virus. But it becomes a bit of a routine, and then after a while, it just becomes kind of second nature. I still do it now. Actually, we haven't had a new case for weeks here, and I still do it now. It's probably a good habit to be in, to be honest. So if you do go out, just be really aware of people around you. If you're going out just for a walk, like, people have a dog, you've got to walk your dog and things like that, you do have to go out. Just find the quietest place you can go. There must be places that, are a little bit quieter. In China, we all live in flats, so we don't really have gardens here. Most people don't have gardens. If you do have a garden, of course, you're very lucky. It means you can just sit out in your garden. That's kind of nice. I don't. I live in a flat. And what I was doing when I was going out, the rare occasions I was going out, was just to walk around that kind of the community, where my flat is, which is a little bit different to kind of how other countries are set up. But we have these communities in China, and you live in them, and there's kind of like a little park area, I suppose. And I used to walk around there a little bit. which means I didn't have to go outside, like actually go outside onto the street. There's still people there, but it's much easier to find a kind of a quiet little corner somewhere. Every country is different. You all know your situation of where you live and where the quiet places are. Just if you need to go out, just find one of those places. So I said I'd finish on a little bit of a positive note, hopefully positive. It does, I mean, it's very easy to think like this is like end of the world, because it is kind of unprecedented. You know, we haven't really been through this situation of just suddenly we can't go outside anymore. It's unusual. However, the positive thing for all those countries now that are in lockdown is you're on the right track, basically. If you keep doing that for weeks, it'll get better. That's what happened here. And it's what happened in South Korea as well. Who, you know, South Korea I mentioned a lot in my videos, but basically they were one of the countries that went into lockdown and closed schools really, really quickly as well. They're way past their peak now. It's a long way in the past. And now, the day before yesterday, they recorded their lowest number of new cases in one day, which is amazing. And obviously here in China, we're also well past that peak now. We're on the way out. So the positive thing is, if you're on lockdown, it means you're on the right way. It just takes a bit of time now. However, do be aware that things will get bad. Well, things will get worse before they get better. The number of cases and deaths and things are going to keep increasing, which is sad and horrible, but just keep being vigilant about it. It comes down to people staying indoors. There's no two ways about it. It's not some big secret. Just if you stay away from people for a few weeks, the problem suddenly becomes, well, a lot less of a problem, really. It will happen. So stay positive and kind of stay optimistic, and look out for people. If people in your town and things need help who can't get help, maybe they need shopping doing, and you can for some reason help them. Maybe you're younger, you've got a car or something. You know, look out for people if you can. It's quite an important thing. And follow the rules. If there was ever a time to follow the rules, this is probably the time to do it. Things will get better. If you have any questions, and please ask away in the comments. I will get back to you and I'll answer as best as I can. Stay safe and stay positive. Take care. Bye-bye.